All right, so reports coming out. Patriots aggressively are targeting wide receivers. This one from Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports saying the Patriots with the most cap space by far are set to be aggressive, especially at wide receiver. They tried last year but fell short. With Drake May, they should have an easier time attracting talent and are willing to spend whether through free agency or a blockbuster trade. Now, there have been reports that the Patriots kicked the tires on trading for a DK Metcalf, but backed out of it due to the price. I don't see him trading for a Cooper Kupp. There is the, what about A.J. Brown? What about A.J. Brown? Because that's what he's sort of insinuating to this. That conversation would have to start at the number 4 overall pick, where what the Bruins hold. And would you be willing to part with the number 4 overall for A.J. Brown? I would not. To me, that's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase territory. But it just opens up. This is what Patriots fans want to hear of all the talk about the trenches. You have to get Drake May his help.
Right.
There's a lot of wide receivers out there on free agency. I'm not going to BS people and say it's a good, deep class. It's an older class. Not as many guys hit free agency like we've seen in the past. But the Davante Adams that has been cut. Stephon Diggs, who's still in his lower 30s. Chris Godwin is just 29, coming off an injury. Darius Slayton, not sexy, but would be a wide receiver 1 and then be a good role piece moving forward. Those are all the guys out there. So we still see the reports. They're being aggressive. You could be aggressive. You could have cap space. You got to be smart how you spend it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you can't just go out there and start buying pieces. Not to mention, and maybe this is because I'm a hockey nerd, but, like, you don't just go snatching names. It's chemistry. Yeah. It's, like, do they fit in our system? Will they respond to our coaches? What's the chemistry like? And here's the thing. I was enamored with Mike Vrabel's opening press conferences when he took the position of being a head coach. He said he wanted to be aggressive, but he stressed relationship. He stressed connection. He stressed how often these coaches are going to be interacting with these players to get to know them on a human level. So, yeah, you might have money, but you're not just going to go out there and snatch a name and add it to the roster and use this money in a flashy form. Like, they've got to build something special here, which means they've got to connect the dots. What guys are going to gel? What guys are going to go out on the field and fight for one another? Yeah. But that makes me think that a couple of these free agent names are fantastic and really good fits because there's previous chemistry and timing with McDaniels. There's previous respect and timing with Vrabel, but then also it's the veteran presence. It's bringing in a veteran who either has made a run, a deep run, or knows what it's like to win a championship and helping them be a shoulder as well as a partner for Drake May. Yeah. You can see that he's still very much a sponge, and you can see some sparks of his risk it to get the biscuit mentality, which I love about him. But you can only take risk when you have another voice in your ear that tells you when that risk is calculated and worthy. And having a veteran wide receiver, I think, is going to really uplift his game along with everything else the Patriots are doing. Yeah, that's what's big, too, is that with everything that they're putting out there, he talked about culture, respecting the team. And that's where you look at lists and you can kind of eliminate some guys off of it. Like, yes, Davante Adams at his age, he's going to want to win. And the reports are he wants to go to the West Coast. You take him off the list. Stephon Diggs, you could see as a fit, but can be a diva. Keenan Allen's up there in age. Chris Godwin's coming off the injury. Amari Cooper, I don't know. Marquise Brown, there's question marks. DeAndre Hopkins is just washed up. And I hate to say he's one of my favorite receivers. There's like the Deontay Johnson. And that's where a lot of people go. Like, well, he's good. It's just he's a headache. Again, when it's Mike Vrabel always says, if you respect the team, that's how I'll treat you. He doesn't talk about himself. Respect the team. That's what he puts most important to him. That's what he prioritizes. It takes away the Deontay Johnson. The top 3 names, you got to trade for them. It's DK Metcalf, it's Cooper Kupp, it's A.J. Brown. And I think the Patriots, though, instead of trading, they would rather call the bluff on like a Cooper Kupp, where no one's going to trade for him. Rams will cut him, and then they would go from there. Well, yeah, because you got to think, too, Rams just came out of pocket to keep Matthew Stafford. Yeah. And while they had some of their strong chemistries and connections and that got them to postseason runs, we saw a bit of a disconnect in terms of teams being able to read that. They knew that was Stafford's go-to. Some things have shifted in terms of skill set for Cooper Kupp, but, I mean, you've overcome injuries. You've been the main workhorse for a Rams team. And you're getting up there. You're getting older year by year, so it's going to change your play. I think that he can go slot in somewhere and not ask for mega money, but he's always been known as a team guy. And you make a great point to mention that Vrabel says you want somebody to come in, be a part of the culture, be a team guy. I respect you, you respect me. And Kupp could be a fit for that. It sucks that Davante Adams has some diva vibes around him because he did have 2 1,000 plus yard seasons with McDaniels. You know, I think McDaniels knows the approach to kind of reach out to him, but they're going to have too many sidebar conversations, I think, to keep him in line and to keep his head into like a proper leadership role in what's turning out to be somewhat of a young Patriots team. He's still, it's when everything, the priority is culture.
and you realize just how void of leadership they were last year because Gerard Mayo did not have the resources or support to succeed. A guy like Davante Adams makes sense. The connection to Josh McDaniels makes sense. I don't know how they left on terms. Obviously, Josh McDaniels fired. I don't know how Davante Adams liked playing for him because players were smoking cigars in the locker room when Josh McDaniels was fired. But a guy like that prioritizes winning and left the Packers because they weren't going to pay him, demanded the trade, goes to Las Vegas, and then demands a trade as well to go to a winning culture. That's just not going to fit into the framework of Mike Vrabel.
Right.
And the same way reports came out, like Gerard Mayo was told it's going to be 3 years. This is what it is with Mike Vrabel as well. A Davante Adams in the short term could help you win games, but in the long term, does he help you build up that culture? And that's why I go back to the guys like a Cooper Kupp that can make an impact. As crazy as it sounds, a Chris Godwin coming off the injury or a Darius Slayton.
You're not allowed to have him.
Yeah, well, it's the Bucks, and everyone's saying the Bucks are expected to retain him. And I know there are the reports like it was Matthew Berry saying he heard the Patriots are trying to trade for A.J. Brown. Again, like Matthew Berry's not as in tune with the guys. Like he's heard something at the combine. Coming from him, the guy knows fantasy football, but I just don't take his reports on that same level where the Patriots with that number 4 overall pick, they know a lot is out there, within their reach of what they can do with the draft. They feel like they could control it at number 4, especially if a quarterback falls there. A.J. Brown, Mike Vrabel, there's a connection. Yes, it makes a ton of sense. Would you part with the number 4 overall pick for A.J. Brown? I don't think so because they have so many needs. Yeah. Trade back, you get more picks, then they have something to work with, and a lot can change as well. But there are the reports, and the A.J. Brown will always be circulated. It's going to be free agency for the Pats, but their priority, first and foremost, is going to be defensive line, offensive line, and then they're going to likely go from there.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, priority has to come over the fact that you have a bank account to work with and let alone not rushing the process. But what about Brandon Cooks? What do you think of him as a fit?
He's all right. It's just, he'd be a good wide, like if I have to think about it this much, it's good culture piece, about to be 32 years old, still productive, good run blocker. He teaches the right things. It's just if you are going to pay, and he could be a prove-it deal, like 1 year, $4 million deal. I want the priority has to be on the guys I think that are younger, like a Nick Westbrook-Akine who's 28. A guy like a Darius Slayton. Again, these aren't the sexiest names, but you got to fill out this wide receiver room that's 27, 28. And I think that can be short-term and long-term more beneficial. Brandon Cooks, I wouldn't hate. It's just I want if the priority and you are going to go in on wide receivers, someone that can be there to develop with Drake May over the next few years and help you win games and help teach your younger receivers. The fit for Brandon Cooks makes sense. It's just you got to sign guys, and they also need to draft a lot of receivers. And if you sign a Brandon Cooks, a Darius Slayton, Nick Westbrook-Akine, you're taking snaps away from a Jalen Noel or Jaden Higgins, guys that need those reps in an actual game to develop and get better.
Yeah.
And there's a point where you have too many cooks in the kitchen, per se, or too many guys just in that wide receiver room where it could hold people back.
Yeah, and having an oversaturated wide receiver room you think would be beneficial in terms of everyone learning off of one another and having that depth because injuries are just kind of getting rampant and wild these days. But regardless, the rep point of view is actually tremendous. I hate to say it, Chris Godwin would be a tremendous fit. He's not allowed to come here.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't want him because of that ankle injury.
I think
it makes sense. He dislocated his ankle.
I get it, but we've seen guys come back from like gruesome
2 years later though.
Gruesome situations.
Right, it took Tony Pollard a year to get back.
We're talking about a 3-year window. At least that's where my head's at.
Yes.
Okay.
But then he's going to be 29, so he'll be 30, 31 when he comes back, and that's a decline in the receivers.
He's got it. Just entertain the fact of like an OC that worked with Walker and Amendola, and then like you get this slot beast in Godwin. Again, he's not allowed to come here. Anyone who thinks that that's what I'm going for. But it would just be a fun hypothetical. You're staying in Tampa.